Welcome to day 181. We're in 2 Kings and Isaiah 13 through 16. Really, 2 Kings, we're not looking into those two chapters. Just says that Hezekiah becomes king. Just wanted to say that. Now we get into Isaiah. Now this is crazy good stuff here. Okay, guys? Let's get at it. Talking about Babylon. And you can read tons and tons of books about Babylon. And it's just an insane amount of information that's out there about Babylon. So I'm going to tell you some tidbits that are very, very important to help you understand some things as we progress. Because Babylon really is going to take the Israelites captive. And that's the first beast in Daniel that we want to talk about, and I'll say it again. And then eventually they're wiped out and gone, and that alludes to a second Babylon that comes on the scene and is destroyed in the end. All right, getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about chapter 13. This is mostly all going to be about Babylon. 9 and 10. Nothing will hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain. Oops, I'm in the wrong chapter. That's not right. 13, 9, and 10. For see, the day of the Lord is coming, the terrible day of his fury and fierce anger. The land will be made desolate. And we're talking about Babylon in this chapter. In many of the chapters. And no other city really has as much written about it in the Bible than Babylon. For good reason. Very evil place. But here's the point. The day of the Lord is coming. It's a terrible day of his fierce anger. So judgment time is a terrible time. And every time it says the day of the Lord, it's usually, the alarm is here, the end of the day is done, and it's time to pay the piper. And everybody starts to squirm. Okay, the land will be made desolate. Again, needing to understand that Babylon is desolate. It won't be inhabited ever again, only by animals or occasional people camping out or something. So that's key. So how can Babylon exist a second time? We'll get to that. And all the sinners destroyed with it. That's the other part. The heavens will be black above them. The stars will give no light. The sun will be dark when it rises, and the moon will provide no light. Like, what? Are you crazy? That's crazy. So the star's not giving any light. Let's talk about that again. The heavens will be black. The stars will give no light. The sun will be dark when it rises, and the moon will provide no light. That's not talking about the first destruction. Matthew 24, 29. Just as the gathering of vultures shows there is a carcass nearby, so these signs indicate that the end is near. Immediately after the anguish of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will give no light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken. At last, the sign of the Son of Man is coming. So the second coming happens right after that. So Babylon is defeated in Revelation. Well, let's look at Revelation 6:13 first. Okay, 6:13. Then the stars of the sky, I'll read verse 12 as well. I watched as the Lamb broke the sixth seal. So you have 7 seals, 7 trumpets, seven seals, 7 trumpets, and 7 vial judgments. 21 judgments in all in the book of Revelation during the 7 years of the Antichrist reign. I watched as the Lamb broke the 6th seal, and there was a great earthquake. The sun became as dark as black cloth, and the moon became as red as blood. Then the stars of the sky fell to the earth like green figs falling from a tree shaken by a strong wind. Okay. Revelation 18:2. 18:2. Babylon is fallen, the great city is fallen. So he gave a mighty shout. An angel comes down and gives a mighty shout. Babylon is fallen. The great city has fallen. She has become a home for demons. She is a hideout for every foul soul, a hideout for every foul vulture and every foul and dreadful animal. Foul, foul, foul. So, talking about Babylon being an evil place and just filled with evil, and nothing but evil comes from it, and bad and corrupt businesses, and sin, sin, sin. I can't express it enough. Babylon is a horrible place. It's destroyed, desolate, never to be lived in again, and then it comes back in a different place. It has to be a different place because it says never again. Okay? I'll talk about that again. Now, in the midst of all this, there's mercy. Chapter 14, verse 1. But the Lord will have mercy on the descendants of Jacob. He will choose Israel as his special people once again. He will bring them back to settle once again in their land. The point is, he chooses them again. He exiles them on purpose to teach them lesson until they finally come to their senses. And then he brings them back again. It is God who is in control of all this. And people from many different nations will come and join them. That's the key there. From many different nations will come and join them. The nations of the world will help the people of Israel return. May 15th, 1948. The United Nations came together, and some countries fought against it, some of the Arab countries. But in general, the United Nations came together and gave Israel their land back in one day. The nations helped them. And those who come to live in the Lord's land will serve them. Those who capture Israel will themselves be captured. Those who captured Israel will themselves be captured. Italy, Mussolini, Hitler, Germany. And Israel will rule over its enemies. Now, it hasn't really ruled over its enemies yet, but that's coming. We are finally getting to the point where we are talking end time stuff in the Old Testament about a time period here that has to be fairly soon. All this stuff is happening, okay? So there's mercy that God gives in the midst of all this, right before they're even exiled, okay? A place I want to talk about, 14:9. This is pretty wild. In the place of the dead, call it Sheol, call it hell, not the lake of fire, that's a different place. In the place of the dead, there is excitement over your arrival, talking about the leader of Babylon. The spirits of world leaders and mighty kings long dead stand up to see you. That should make us understand that, you're going someplace when you die. So I just want to point that out. What an awesome visual that is. And now, O shining star of the morning. I want to talk about 14:12. Chapter 14, verse 12. How you are fallen from heaven, O shining star, son of the morning. And in some of the Bible studies, they say, son of the star in the morning, they fade away quickly. So, and it's not talking about Christ here, it's talking about Babylon. How you are fallen from heaven. Of course, Christ doesn't fall from heaven. So it is the Babylon, the leader of Babylon fallen, the people of Babylon fallen. And then we look at in chapter 19, I think it is, it talks about a star going to the bottomless pit with the key to the bottomless pit. Well, Christ is the only one with the keys. So that's about Christ. So don't confuse those things. Who destroys evil? Chapter 14, verse 22. This is what the Lord of Heaven's army says. I myself have risen against Babylon. That's important right there. I myself, God, is the one rising himself against evil. Okay? I will destroy its children and its children's children, says the Lord. I will make Babylon a desolate place of owls, filled with swamps and marshes. I will sweep the land with the broom of destruction. Okay, he's the one who does it. 13:3 says the same thing. I, the Lord, have dedicated these soldiers for this task. Yes, I've called the mighty warriors to express my anger, and they will rejoice when I am exalted. So the Lord is the one who is doing these things. Never inhabit again. Chapter 13, verse 20. Babylon will never be inhabited again. It will remain empty for generation after generation. Nomads will refuse to camp there, and shepherds will not bed down their sheep. Okay, so if Babylon is here, And I do want to talk about, I guess I didn't mention it, in Daniel 7. Daniel 7. There's it at here. And Daniel has a vision. We'll read this here soon, but I wanted to tie this together. You need to understand that these prophets are kind of all in the same hundreds of years together. Daniel and Isaiah are fairly close together, and Jeremiah. And so Daniel has this vision. The first beast was like a lion with eagle's wings. As I watched, its wings were pulled off, and it was left standing with its two hind feet on the ground, like a human being, and it was given a human mind. That's Babylon. The second beast is like a bear. That's Medo-Persia. Third beast was a leopard. That's Greece, because it has 4 different heads, because Greece with Alexander the Great died suddenly, and the generals split everything into 4 different directions. And then you have Rome, the fourth beast. This is the reason I'm telling you. Rome is the new Babylon in the end. It's the city that sits on the 7 hills. If you go and read in Revelation, I wasn't going to do this, but it ties together. We need to see it. The city that sits on 7 hills. This calls for a mind with understanding. The 7 heads of the beast represent the 7 hills where the woman rules. This is talking about the beast in Revelation. They also represent 7 kings. 5 kings have already fallen, 6 now reigns, and 7th is yet to come. Okay, but its reign will be brief. All right, so the point is, the city is sitting on 7 hills. I've been to Rome, and some other people have been there, and I specifically asked at the Vatican. I was like, so tell me about the 7 hills. Oh yeah, and St. Peter's Cathedral or whatever. There's a hill there, and the 7 hills are here. John was writing this because he understood the city that sits on the 7 hills is Rome. He understood this. So that's Babylon, because it's talking about this city being destroyed. After all this, I saw another, in chapter 18 of Revelation, I saw another angel come down from heaven with great authority, and the earth grew bright with his splendor. He gave a mighty shout. Babylon is fallen. The great city is fallen. Okay, so look at verse 18 of chapter 17 before you get to that chapter. And this woman you saw in your vision represents the great city that rules over the kings of the world. Rome, the Vatican, the Pope rules over all the leaders of the world. He doesn't necessarily have access to the armies, but he has great pull over the cities of the world, because right now the Catholic religion is throughout the world, and they all answer to the Pope. When the rapture happens, that'll all change and be taken over by evil. But there's the key that we need to understand, that Babylon is destroyed and desolate, okay, in the Middle East, and then is again in Rome. So it does come into play twice. So it's destroyed back for Israel after their exile, and then it's destroyed again in the book of Revelation in the future. So that's how all that's tied together with Daniel. Wonderful, great readings for those, and I'll touch on those again as we read those. Okay, God has a plan, 26. Chapter 14, verse 26, it says, I have a plan for the whole earth, a hand of judgment upon all the nations. Why? Because we all just turn our backs on God, or don't even acknowledge that God exists, agnostic or atheist, whatever. But the point is, God's going to take all his people out in the rapture, and there will be a day of judgment for who's left behind. There will be godly people left behind, or not left behind, but that come to know God during the Revelation time. Okay. And then we have a vision of Jesus here, 16:5. Then God will establish one of David's descendants as king. He will rule with mercy and truth. He will always do what is right and be eager to do what is right. That is Christ. He is the descendant of David, and he will set up his kingdom forever. That's your day 181. Have a great one. I'll see you tomorrow.